All right.
Hey guys, welcome back to All Things Cinema podcast. It's been a while, I know, but then I thought I should be doing something when I have some enough substance to speak about. And last month, we both happened to watch a couple of Tamil films, which we thought should be a lot of fun to talk about. Usually, we do a lot of Malayalam cinema related videos, but then I think this is probably the first time we are going to cover Tamil cinema as well, which is actually much more deserving, I think, because the kind of cinema we have seen from coming from Chennai in the last few weeks or so. So today, Nona has joined us to talk about Jailer and Maaveeran, two very contrasting films, and I thought it'll be fun to talk about both of them in the same video because at one hand you have this huge big budget mainstream commercial film starring superstar Rajnikant, and then on the other hand you have this very small budget, very indie vibe kind of a film, which is again a genre that's not very well done in India through so far. A film about a superhero and something that has probably lagged in Bollywood a lot. On the contrary, compared to South Indian cinema, we have seen Minnal Murli, but this is again a very very different kind of superhero film and a very well made one. So welcome to the stream, Nona. Oh, how have you
Thank you
been?
for
And
having me.
yeah, you have been unwell. So how's your health now?
Still recovering. Much better than before, but yeah, still not there, not 100%. But yeah, good times with the films.
Yeah.
It's if it takes me getting unwell, I'm okay with it. But yeah, interestingly, both are commercial films, but still, like
Yeah.
you see, on a spectrum, they are very different, even on a
Mm.
commercial scale.
Mm.
So interesting choice, and we can discuss which one you want to go first.
Yeah. So
I think the only difference is that after the success, one film is people in that film are getting big cars,
that's
Audi and
true.
a Mercedes and I don't know what all.
That's true. So as I told you, why I wanted these two films put together in a stream was because you know it's not often that in Indian cinema across industries two films of so much of contrast between each other do well, critically and also commercially, right?
Yeah,
Because we know that how Jailer has crossed maybe 500 crore worldwide, and uh, on the other hand, Maaveeran also did fair enough business based on the kind of film it is. Uh, so two very very extreme contrasting films and yet doing well, so that also tells you a little bit about the accepting audience down south, especially in when it comes to Tamil cinema. So let's we can start with the Jailer. I mean, starting with the Rajnikant film, as you said ki uh, it's a film. I think we covered it on your channel as well some time back. So, uh, what do you think worked this time around? Because his last couple of films didn't do as well. If you look at the track record, because
Rajnikant, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because even with the big name, sometimes we have seen that uh, films have started off well, but then they've gone down very quickly. But this wasn't the case with Jailer. So, what was the big difference this time around if you compare it with his previous couple of releases?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, I only saw first half with subtitles. Just want to
Okay.
clarify. And it's coming, I think, this week on OTT also. So maybe I'll catch it up. I think, see, I've not seen the previous films. So
Okay.
I'll not comment on the films. I'll just phrase what I've heard about those is that they are just generic,
Hmm.
formulaic mass films which just fans go and just enjoy and come back.
Yeah.
Nothing new, nothing refreshing. But I think this one people were excited because it was Rajnikant, with a very young director
Mm.
who has proven himself and has a unique taste.
Yeah.
He's not just trying to make another big commercial film, but with his unique dark humor,
Mm.
personality.
Yeah.
And even Beast, which I saw, was the stint doesn't work at all.
Mm.
But still, it was something. There was an attempt to try something different. It again
Yeah.
wasn't a formulaic film.
Mm.
It was kind of in a sense, it was like, the most of the story is in one location and you have to tell a story like that, which it failed miserably, but it's still something new, something different. So I
Mm.
think it was more of the director and the actor coming together,
Mm.
than just the actor. And when uh, it just clicked. I think it worked first half, everyone enjoyed. I think the music is a big part. You have to
Yeah.
talk about it. But music, I think, still, like, it's whenever I hear him, I get energized.
Mm.
And then the cameos by other stars, which I think Tamil people like, uh, may not like. It's not like they were like, oh my god, it's from, not
Mm.
from Tamil Nadu,
Mm.
star from Tamil Nadu. He's
Yeah.
a star from Malayalam and a star from Kannada film. And just like us, I think for me, I didn't know the Kannada actor at all.
Mm.
Well, a lot of people didn't know, and they were like, but they were happy with the music and all. They liked that, him
Mm.
walking in and slow mo, and second half, yeah, it didn't. First of all, no subtitles, and other thing was, it became kind of a generic star film
Mm.
where the star took more priority than
Yeah.
the plot, and yeah, the comedy angle, all of that happened,
Mm.
and the ending twist was nice with the son. But yeah, it ended not on the great high. I think the first half just peaked, and after that, the film couldn't peak at the same time. But yeah, again, it was just something refreshing, a very different, vibe and role for the star. People had
Mm.
not seen before,
Yeah.
and something hatke, something dark. You don't expect dark from a superstar like this. They always try to play it safe, family
Mm.
audiences, whereas there are a lot of movements in this film already which are not family friendly. And I
Yeah.
think BR review said that he wished it was not family friendly and it would have gone all over with gore. I think he said he didn't like it that they trimmed it down and made it family friendly.
I mean,
So
it's like so how we refer to master as 50% location, 50%
yeah,
Vijay. So here I also felt that maybe Nelson was not able to go all out 100% because this was his first film with Rajnikant and vice versa. So maybe they wanted to play a little safer, and that's why they didn't go all out. Maybe how Nelson might have done with some other actor who was maybe not of that
like,
stature.
have you seen Doctor?
Yeah,
So that film, it worked for you?
I
Who
think
said
it
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 didn't work?
no
Jimmy, I
no
think, said it didn't work
I,
for him.
I
Yeah,
I it worked for me also because again, as I said, if there was some other actor in Jailer, so Shiva Karthikeyan is the kind of actor who is maybe more open to take risk. Now we will later on we'll talk about Maaveeran. So
yeah.
in Doctor also, it's not the kind of film that uh, you would expect. A Rajnikant or a Kamal Hassan or even a Talapati Vijay to do. But
But I always wonder, are is it like a, unspoken thing between everyone that, okay, this is my limit as a director where I can stretch it? Or is it a set thing that the star says, no, tone these things down. I don't want to do it. I always wonder that. And we will never know the answer behind the scenes what happens.
yeah,
But like, for example, Master, right?
yeah,
The the revolution, the kind of thing that Lokesh is bringing with his films, right? Even
mm,
Master being 50% Vijay Talapati, I know the moments it is Vijay's movie,
yeah,
where he gets the monologue,
mm,
where he gets to say that social message. I know these hero moments he has to give to him, but
yeah,
overall, it all fits in his narrative, which
mm,
starts with the whole, intro for the villain, 15 minutes intro of
yeah,
the
yeah,
villain.
yeah.
We don't get to see and the
True.
whole narrative is about, it's not that then the villain is, forget villain, and there's some personal story with Vijay only and his backstory, and If that would have happened, I would have like, yeah, that is just now hero movie. But he
Hmm.
didn't do that. He used his stardom, gave him his stardom moments, his star thinking, which fans want, and all of that things within his narrative. It doesn't,
Hmm.
his character doesn't like suddenly becomes too big than the plot itself. That, and
True.
he loses, like, his people close to him die, and he cannot do anything.
Hmm.
There, if you would have like, he just made a call, and other heroes came, and everything is sorted, and he defeated the villain, that'd be like, that's just hero thing you're trying to do. His like his narrative doesn't break because of his heroism. Whereas here
Hmm.
it feels like, by the end, if you think about it, you're like, why did I watch 2 hours or 3 hours of this film? In the first half, when your son got disappeared, you would have just called three people, and everything would have been sorted. Like, the villain didn't have, like, by the end you realize the villain was not even a, like a formidable enemy. So then the start becomes too big than the plot itself. So I think
Yeah,
that's a difference.
and so that was the problem even with this film Beast also, because again Nelson was there and he worked with the Talapati Vijay. But then
Yeah.
in that movie also, I felt the star became bigger than the script because the script was absolutely, nonsensical at so many points. Like at least in Jailer, you can pinpoint, a couple of places where you felt, especially in second half, that these things could have been avoided to make it an even better film. But in Beast, that problem existed for throughout the film. So maybe that was to glorify, or it was 100% Vijay film. I don't know.
I
Uh,
don't even remember Beast, but I would say I remember there was this angle. I think everyone talked about it, that you started that the character has PTSD,
yeah,
and then you just let it. It never comes back to the narrative. Like, that could have been the limitation to your hero.
yeah,
That even he can take down everyone in the mall, and this is just a cake, cakewalk for him.
yeah,
That, doesn't help him, let go, and help people easily. But that also was forgotten. And I think the whole
yeah,
humor thing just fell flat. Like, you're building tension in the mall, the terrorists, and suddenly there's a whole, laugh moment. A joke
yeah,
is going on with Yogi Babu's character, and it just becomes like totally out of place. Doesn't work.
yeah. And I agree with the Sarvanan as well. Without
Is
Rajni's
it the
Jailer,
legend, Sarvanan,
I don't
watching
know.
the stream?
I think he has come on the channel for the first time for me. You might know.
You know him,
So
right? Like,
no,
not the him, but the name and the picture.
I can't really make out the picture because it's a very small thumbnail.
Check
But
on the restream, no?
yeah, I'm seeing here only. So what's the reference? If you can.
So you know Legend, right? The Legend movie that came out last year, like the Legend. Come on. No, we have to Google it right now. Google the Legend right now.
The Legend?
Yeah, the Legend. Come on. This was the most. It was the
Okay.
not even Adi Purush, I would say. You know about this, right? Himesh Reshammiya's movie. What's his name? Rajkumar something.
Okay, so I have Googled The Legend, Indian Tamil language science fiction film written and directed by J.D. Jerry.
No, no, just check a image or something. He's the same guy. He's basically like a big, like a businessman. I think he runs what, the
Oh,
marts. I
okay.
think D
Now
Mart or
I
something.
got it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he runs those, and he's a big successful one. So he just made his own movie with
wow.
being a
So,
hero himself, and
so it's
everything.
like MSG.
Yeah, exactly. But not the God angle, but again, it's the same thing that he just glorified in the movie as, a nonsensical. I think me and Ashmita Chechi sat down to watch it live, and I literally gave up in the middle. I couldn't bear it. It was not even, like, some movies are so bad you enjoy watching it.
Yeah,
It was not even that. It was just ridiculously horrible, and I couldn't sit through. And but Chechi was like, "Fine, we'll continue."
interesting.
Yeah, so that
So,
was okay. Then
so
coming
he's
back
he's
to
a, he's a fan. So coming back to, yeah, so this comment. So of course, without Rajni, it can't make that kind of money. It's kind of like saying Pathan would not make this much money without Shah Rukh Khan, because
yeah,
in these films, star is bigger than the script. Both of them, even Gadar wouldn't make so much if it wasn't for the recall value and Sunny Deol. Because at the end of the day, the
everyone who has seen Gadar 2 has said that only they enjoyed whatever when Sunny Deol was on screen, which is 40% of
And
the
I
plot.
absolutely detest the time Ashmita Patel. Oh, sorry, not Ashmita Patel. Amisha Patel.
Hamisha, we should cut that part on and send it to Chechi.
No, yeah, and every time Amisha Patel or that the guy who plays their son, they come and
Cheete.
try to act.
I would say he still like was okay. He wasn't like for me. I think I felt like in the beginning I felt a little odd with his performance, but then yeah, okay, I was fine with him. But Amisha Patel was I. I'm sorry, no, it's not body shaming. I'm
Hmm.
not trying doing that, but whenever like I couldn't tell if she's smiling or crying, especially
and
in the later scenes.
and with so much of makeup, you can't really tell
It
also.
felt like she's playing a spoof of her own character.
But anyway, cutting back to the Tamil cinema discussion that we are having. So now with Jailer, second half especially. So for me, the biggest problem was just stretching things unnecessarily. I mean, that whole angle of where Tamanna is involved and that love triangle and everything.
I
I mean,
Thank God, I have no idea. Actually left the theater to ask about with the subtitles, and I just came. I think just the moment I entered, it was the entry of Mohanlal with that baseball bat and all. That's when I entered the theater back. So I was like, okay, thank God,
okay.
at least I got to see this.
I mean, it was so unnecessary and so overcooked. It felt like because the film is so long anyway, I felt why the hell they would have so much of screen time for these people, where it also makes the film draggy and it also takes away so much from the main point of the film. Where I won't mind that if Rajnikant was occupying that amount of time as well because it's him, but then you're giving so much screen time and footage to all those people and that whole subplot line of all these three people and the love triangle. So just didn't sit well with me. And as you said, how first half peaked, you kept losing interest, in the second half. So
It was just like I don't even know what that plot was, and that
so
shows you
I
that it didn't matter at all
wait,
in the
wait. I'll
story.
let you in. I'll
No, no,
let you
no.
in
I
on it.
don't. I don't. I don't. I don't want to know because it doesn't change the story. It doesn't change the story at the ending. Like doesn't matter. And like I think the villain wants some crown or something, and they fake that they have taken the crown. It reminded me of Race 2.
Yeah.
Like
So
he
the
has to
thing
go
is,
in the church and get something, but he never
yeah.
really gets it.
So the thing is, in that temple where the crown is, there are five
They
trustees.
shoot. Yeah, I know all that. That
So
that,
one,
that captions were there.
so that actor was one of the trustees,
Yeah, I
and to
got it.
win
Got it.
his trust, they do all these things and go around. So
Shenanigans. Again, as I said, in the film, it doesn't really matter to do
yeah,
all that. You know.
yeah, because in first half you have created this whole world of Rajnikant, of the jailer, and I also like the part where they go into his past. Although
Did we add
uh,
spoiler to this?
we can, I mean, people have.
Like
Uh,
people in the title, have you written spoiler? Because some people get upset. Huh?
no, but then it's been a month since the film came, so
Yeah.
it's okay. That's what I'm saying. That in first half you create this whole world where Rajnikant and his son and the family and everything, and then some bad people get involved, and then suddenly you are going so far away from all of it that once you come back to it, you have to then rethink. Okay, where was this main plot line going, and now we have to reconnect the dots. So it's and yet the film worked. I mean, that is the stardom of Rajnikant. That even after that, people are ready to overlook all these shortcomings, and yet the film worked so well. Maybe because the climax was maybe more satisfying for them than these little shenanigans.
Honestly, like you could have called Mohanlal way before, and like you would have find your son. He can put a camera anywhere. I'm like, okay, but the son twist was interesting, and the way the film ends, again very different. You don't
Yeah.
find, but it feels so, they didn't flesh it out properly. Like I never felt anything with the son-father relationship. That at the end, him just walking away from him, him being dead, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really hit.
Hmm.
It doesn't really, make any like the interval, post interval, when he reaches the villain.
Hmm.
That moment would have worked afterwards because if you had shown that it's just a small villain and there's a bigger conspiracy,
Yeah.
then you get into that bigger conspiracy and then you get all these three together, so it makes sense that these three legends are coming together, to
Hmm.
take down. And the at the end, the villain is nothing. It's like he doesn't even need to touch. And I think for a lot of Tamil audience, what I learned, and I think we were talked about on live stream also, that they don't see much of Rajnikant doing the action.
Hmm.
It's like, he's just there, his presence is there, and other people are taking the action. He's not doing the action, and he doesn't need to because he's so cool. And whenever he does, it's like, a movement. Very first time I think killed those two people in front of the van and all of that. So that, that okay, and that you heard that Supreme the court has asked to cut that scene out or something.
No, I didn't hear it.
Because one of the goons is wearing a t-shirt of RCB.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
So
That,
RCB
yeah,
has
yeah,
put
yeah.
in the case, and the court has said you have to cut that, remove that scene out. Like, they have to do some VFX shenanigans to do that. That's the important scene. You can't just even cut it out.
I mean, all these things, see, they get discussed for a day or two, and then it dies down on its own.
Yeah.
So, uh, but anyway, I understood your point about the villain, but at least they picked a very good actor for that. I really loved his performance,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
uh,
But it's like it leaves you a bitter taste because he did a good performance, but then the story let it down. You
story,
know,
yeah. I
it's
mean,
like, yeah, first off, like some really good moments, but whenever I'll remember his performance, I'll remember that all those random things in the second
yeah.
half they do with him. And I think the same thing I had with, I think, Fahad's performance in the Tamil film called Maranam.
Okay.
He plays a kind of a villain,
Mhm.
and like the plot takes it some weird things that I'm like, cool, but fine, good performance.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
that's why plot matters a lot.
it does.
Just a
It
good
does.
performance cannot justify it.
Yeah. I mean, like how we say, for a good protagonist, you really need a very good antagonist as well for all of it to be worth it, right? So,
Yeah,
in that sense, I mean, Rajnikant had a good antagonist, but then the way at times they just demeaned his character, like when he becomes a beggar and all, and then I understand it's for the comic angle, but then it kept losing that menace that a villain has, right? You know what I mean? There is
yeah,
this image of a villain, and you start with it in the initial part of the film when he's drowning all these guys into the acid and everything, and you focus on his way into his face, close up, and also you start with that image of him being a very mean and rude and menace kind of a villain. And then as the film and goes along, be it that beggar scene or that tal se tal mila, that whole dance sequence, I mean, it just makes a fool out of them. So you start losing that image, the serious image a villain should have ideally, right? Like
yeah.
at least in Gadar 2, the villain was still, he stood up
His
against.
motivations were kind of made sense.
Yeah, I mean, it did, but then things like those, and then he calls up that whole army from Punjab, and they turned against him because I those angles didn't really make as much sense to me. I mean, you have an actor like Makran Deshpande for that, just for a scene or two, so much underutilized. They could have used him way better than that. So, lot of shortcomings, and yet the film did well. That is why I think it's interesting to analyze these kind of things, what works and what doesn't work. And now on the other end, now let's if we Veeran in this discussion now. So again, now this is a film where you have a star, but you also have a very very strong story. I would say it's a story driven film than a star driven film. Even having a star in it, because
Yeah,
Shiva Karthikeyan, I know he's no Rajnikant, but he's in his generation he's one of the prominent ones over there. and I'm really liking the kind of choices he has been making recently. Especially starting from Doctor. In the last couple of years, there has been such a shift and the openness to work with newer directors and the
You
experimentation.
know about this alien film he's doing?
No.
So he's like like been in making for a long time.
Okay.
Like a full CG alien is there, and I forgot the name. Island. In the chat, if someone can let me know.
Okay.
So I think the first look kind of was out. The alien looks cartoonish, but yeah, it
Mhm.
looks a very interesting narrative.
So
Island something like that.
so do you think like this can be we can analyze it in this way that like with Rajnikant, he has he has opened up a little in the fact that opened up to experimentation, like how he worked in Jailer, which was uh, slightly experimented with Nelson. So if Rajnikant is doing that over there, also keeping his image and stature in mind, he can't overdo it as well. So that then translates to the next generation who are even more open to experiment, and that's what Shiva Karthikeyan is doing, and that's
I think that's just the need of the hour. Like I think people are tired. People want something new. COVID also changed that.
mm,
Uh, so it's like you have to do something new. I think,
yeah,
and these are people. I think with Kamal Hassan also, Vikram, it was very different, and I think he also now changing his gears, and everyone in like Shahrukh is doing. Everyone's now focusing that instead of doing many films, doing any random shit,
yeah,
focus and create something that people really want to watch. So I
mm,
think that's what everyone is now trying with every film. The stakes are higher now. There will be random people who just trying to copy these big films, but it will
mm,
not work because it's not true. And
yeah,
I think this is the time of actually true filmmakers who have their
mm,
unique voice, and these stars and big heroes are available and ready to do something different. So I think it's a great time for everyone. And I think the thing is everyone wants to. I think it's post Bahubali, right? Everyone wants to do that big film
yeah,
that puts their face mark on the globe. And everyone's trying to do something different, focus on something, put more effort and passion into something. I think that's the result we are seeing. And the good directors are getting more opportunity. Like this
mm.
Madon Ashwin, right, who did Maaveeran. If you see his first film Mandela, it's with Yogi Babu. It's a satire again. It's just about a village.
Oh, he
Where
did
he's
Mandela. I didn't know. I
Yeah,
love that film.
yeah, he only made it. So you know the film, right? Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was his first film, and this is his second film.
Oh,
So that
nice.
just shows you.
Yeah, and it's good that all these actors are also recognizing not just the talent that these new people have, but also they are respectful of the new ideas. Because having talent as a director is one thing, but then to have new fresh original ideas is also another. And
Yeah.
how you said Shiva Karthikeyan is also doing an alien film, and this one was again superhero genre, which has been so underwhelmingly used, done well in India. So Bhavesh Joshi was a direct a reference for me when the movie started. There is that corruption angle to it as well. How I mean, it's been 5 years since that film came. I'm sure at least in these 5 years, you and me would have thought about that film 50 times. That we just wish it had the right audience, maybe at that time, or maybe it had come. If it had come now, even if it had come directly on OTT,
I,
it would have done better.
I still feel I think that film was OTT release. I don't think even today if it comes in theaters, people will go watch it because
Yeah,
it's
but at least,
not something like very unique, a big name or something,
yeah.
and it didn't have. I would say it doesn't have that big action. Also, it's very
Mhm.
understated, and I think it would have worked much better on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, but then the shift has come so much in audience as well in these 5 years, because if you go back to
It would have
2018.
done better than what it did back then, but not anything
Yeah,
big.
no, I'm not saying anything big, but even if it would have failed at box office, you know, like how it has now got a cult following in these 5 years on OTT. So, as you said, if it had come in this era directly on OTT, it would have been a different film altogether, because the audience is more wise, and they have been more exposed to quality stuff from the West and also from Malayalam cinema and whatnot. So they would have been more welcoming of that.
Yeah.
So coming to Maaveeran, I think, from the beginning itself, I really loved the opening stretch where we see Satya. He sketches a tale about this courageous hero, only to sell it to this cartoonist who just adds his own name. So so and it catches your attention. I mean, you so I watched the film without watching the trailer. So I wanted to, because you had posted on our WhatsApp group, and I was like, okay, if Nona itni tarif kar raha, to it should be something worth it. So I didn't know what I was in for, and it something like that when that happens, so there is this whole sketching and everything and cartoonist, and so it just gets your attention in a way that now you're intrigued that okay, this is a superhero film and there is something like this involved, so how would they take it forward? And such originally well executed idea. That's why I think one of the biggest reasons why it has worked with everybody mostly is because of the originality in the superhero idea.
I think it's many things. So he has actually kept his satire angle also in a way. It's
Mhm.
like fun, like in a funny way, showing these things like the building falling apart. It's shown in gags
Yeah.
that you feel, oh my god, but you laugh also. Oh my god, it's just falling apart. It's so bizarre, but it's so true. You know that in your heart, this is a very true thing.
Mm.
So it is treated in a comedy way. I think what I loved was just how refreshing it was, because superhero fatigue, people just keep talking about this, flying and superpowers and a supervillain, the world will end, and I think
Yeah.
people are tired of it. And this is just again just as Bhavesh, right? It's tackling the real issues what real people in India face.
Mm.
That's what they need a superhero for. They don't need a superhero to save them from alien. They don't even care. We
Yeah.
have we have our gods who will take care of it. We don't need superhero to take care of that. You know? So that's the real issues the film is dealing with, and that people relate to. And on the other hand, it's just so refreshing, it's so funny, it actually not a superhero film, if you say so. It's just the element of a superhero is used, but it's still a funny film. It's making you laugh, you can enjoy, have a good time. And I think what complaint everyone has, whatever I know till now, is say the second half is not as good. It drags a bit, and it becomes kind of a similar like commercial elements which should have been not there, like of some a comedy track. I think with Yogi Babu they just stretched it a lot, and even the ending climax I was a bit this that the whole
Mm.
thing of him saving the girl, which actually I got to know is something which they pointed out in the beginning of the film with that animation, where the hero is trying to saving a girl, the princess from the castle which is going
Yeah.
down. So that base, and when he comes out of this house where his mother is fighting, that small girl is sitting and reading the strip and says, "The princess
Mm.
doesn't look like me." And at the end, it's actually the same girl.
Yeah.
So he's saving. So it's like repeating in real life.
Yeah. So that
Uh,
foreshadowing is there a
yeah.
little.
So, but for me, it's like that whole element, felt it became the superhero film now of him, that became just a little too much, like apart from what the narrative was, how grounded it was. But that's why I didn't like it, and it was too ambitious what they were trying to do. But I like the ending. I like the ending, the way they ended the film.
I like the ending, but I think again in the ending they became a little bit more ambitious, and the how you talked in your review as well about how the ending was a little too commercial than the rest of the film.
Ending by ending, I mean the way if we find, oh, he's dead, and we cut to credits,
Okay,
and then we come back with the poster. That part I liked, but
okay,
not
I
the
thought,
whole
yeah,
him saving the girl in the building. That was just
okay,
too much,
yeah,
and it was not even good looking. Good, you couldn't understand what's really happening.
yeah, yeah.
So
I think this film is more so. Now you have told me that he also did Mandela. So I think in that film and also in this film, the director is in control of the star, right? Like the star is there, but he's
yeah,
calling the shots. He's having more control than the star. He's playing, calling his shots. So of course, he gave Shiva Karthikeyan, the open ground, but then he also knows his strengths, and he knew how to use those strengths, and that's why it felt like Shiva is probably in complete control of the director. So both the puppet is also in control, and the person who is playing with that puppet is also in control. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like how I'm trying
yeah,
to. So because here he also retained Shiva Karthikeyan's personality, but also now if I think about Mandela, and now I think about this, so you can see Ashwin's stamp in both these films as well.
yeah.
So
That's true. That's
that's
true.
so I think that's a sign of a good, intelligent, very calculated direction as well. Because how
It
to,
is, and it is also very unconventional because, if it was any other film, he would have been a character who doesn't want to fight anyone, but by the interval, it would be like a big bang, which it
Hmm.
had, but again, very unconventional. That the hero is still not willing to fight, but
Yeah,
he's like forced to,
yeah,
and they continue that till the end. In any other film, it would have been interval he changes, it will be a big moment, and then now he will take revenge from everyone one by one, and that would be the
hmm,
segment. But here, the big idea is it's so unconventional that he still the character is not understood, and he still doesn't want to fight, but he's forced to, and you're bringing gag out of it, and the construction of the action, like action sequence. It's not really action, but the construction of it, so it's so choreographed. When the
yeah,
minister visits him,
hmm,
all those is so well done. It's so well. It's like it's written. It's not something. Oh, let's just shoot this way. It's like
yeah.
written in the script. That's what you're showing me. That just shows you how well made the film is.
And also the way they used Vijay Sethupathiy's voiceover.
Yeah, I actually didn't know, and we did a live reaction to it, and I was like, the moment I'm like, that sounds like Vijay Sethupathi, and then someone confirmed it in the chat.
Interesting choice for a voiceover, because he has a very
Yeah,
interesting voice texture as well. So to use it like that again, interesting.
anything with him becomes better. Hope same with Jawan.
Yeah, man. Can't wait for day after. Somebody actually did ask Jawan ka ticket book कर लिया क्या? So
I still
मैंने
haven't because I'm not sure if I'll be able to go at that particular time. So just a day or that day I'll decide.
so I have booked it
Tickets are
for
not there, but yeah, I'll find it.
yeah. Well, I think you'll find those tickets easier than finding a World Cup ticket. uh,
Oh, I was not even thinking about that. Out of my league.
so coming back to Maaveeran, do you think that just wrapping it up, or do you think this is going to pave way for? So we have seen Minnal Murli, and now this has come. So do you think not just in South, but also it will pave way for more these kind of superhero based films in Bollywood as well?
Yes. So the thing is, you have to be someone different, like Madon Ashwin, to
Hmm.
pull it off. It cannot be just the same thing over again. Just I need big more budget.
Yeah,
Like Brahmastra is in a way superior film, but it's like
yeah.
whole like a trilogy, a whole world. It's a cinematic universe, and they're building up something. It's a Astroverse and all of that. So that is interesting.
Hmm.
I don't want a Superman ripoff. I don't want a Batman ripoff. We are done with that. And
Yeah,
we need someone like like Anurag Kashyap was supposed to make Doga. I
yeah, yeah.
just wish someone is there to fund it, and
Hmm.
he's not even asking for thousands crore or something like that. He just, I think maybe it's just a good, maybe from South he can find a good actor
Hmm.
who's like brings his stardom, brings that budget what he needs to pull it off, and it happens. Maybe Raj comics something they can create a universe out of it, but not
Hmm.
some rip-offs and all of that. I think it's not gonna work, and I think it's just too expensive to make a superhero film. And if it doesn't work, like Krish 4 is into making. I think they're announced they are in writing, pre-production is going on. So let's see, but I don't think something new will happen. And I think
Yeah.
now everyone is going back to franchisee and sequels, Dawn and this and that, because that's
Well,
what they're
if
saying.
if going back to sequel brings us a nice Ravan 2, I won't mind that. I mean, they can
I don't know, man. It's hard.
because it's
It's
also
just too
because
too. Yeah, but yeah, it's I
I
don't
was
know.
saying it's also because, you know, I think they won't take that kind of risk again because how the first part did so badly. So that also
Like
discourages
if
them
it
to
didn't
an
do
extent.
badly. If I think it made 130 crores, and it the budget was around 160
That
60
was
70.
mostly because of Shah Rukh Khan, not because people
Yeah.
were excited that there is a superhero film in
And
India.
the time movie came out, people were not liking it. This bash it, this, that, all of that
Yeah.
things. But when now people like, oh, it's a classic with the after Adi Purush, like the best VFX and this and that. Maybe with like Shah Rukh is at the high right now, maybe he can pull. But again, they need a really good story. And knowing the director of Ravan, Anubhav Sinha, he's gonna make a political film, and I don't think Shah
Oh
Rukh will do
man,
it. I don't think
not at
Shah Rukh
all.
will do it.
Not at all. And so you know how we talked a lot about the shortcomings in Jailer. Just before we finish, I'm sure nobody feels Maaveeran is a perfect film. There are a few flaws in that as well. I didn't like the female angle. I mean, the it was either very much underutilized. They could have done more with it, or they could have completely avoided it. What? How did you? How do you compare actually the director's usage of female protagonists with this and Mandela? Because it just doesn't feel
Mandela, I
very
don't
well done.
remember actually.
Like in I think in that also the lead was a journalist, if I'm not wrong.
I don't remember Mandela much. I remember his arc, Yogi Babu's character arc, the elections and all happened. But I don't know female
So
character.
there also she helped the vulnerable hero, and if you
I don't
remember.
know.
But even in
But
this
in this
one,
one, see, it's a basic, Clark Kent, Louis Lane, right?
hmm,
Like the female is like a journalist, and she's also the power and helps the hero.
yeah,
And she was there to, just give him a pep talk and all of that. In the beginning, I like the idea where we introduce her, and I don't know how they're gonna connect her, and then she comes back later, and she
hmm,
turns out to be the head. So
hmm,
that was very interesting. I thought that angle when she goes to that society, and I thought she'll use that media thing, but it doesn't really happen, and then she's just there,
hmm.
just the side
Yeah,
there with the family. And at the end, she comes before the climax. Yeah, gives a pep talk, and she goes. So yeah, so
because
underutilized definitely.
it felt undergood because, for example, the dynamics of Sunil and Miskin, how their arcs were.
Yeah.
It felt fulfilling, right? But then same
That is
way it
very
did.
actually interesting. Something, very that dynamic, right? And it
Yeah,
created a parallel that even Miskin is hearing someone's voice that he is told, and he has to follow the same thing.
yeah,
So it kind of became a parallel between the hero and the villain.
yeah.
Both are hearing, someone, and they are getting rid of it.
Yeah, so same way, the audience doesn't really get the same treatment or
Uh,
same fulfilling experience with the female protagonist here. And but anyway, I think we have covered most of it. I just wanted to talk about these two films in tandem to make some comparison and compare notes with how you felt about these. And I'm glad that at least 12 people joined us and more will watch this later on as well. So good times for Tamil cinema in general because different kinds of movies are getting accepted, and I think that's a huge
yeah.
win, in a way, and that tells you of the changing times in Indian cinema as well. Bifer says, "Thanks for the show, guys. Thank you for joining. It's been a very very long time since I did a live. I think the last I did was with Kerala Story, which came back in the day. I can't even remember when it came now, but." Yeah, thank you again, Nona, for giving out your time.
No
And
problem.
I hope
Quickly,
you.
just quickly, quick thoughts on the music from Maaveeran.
Uh, Interesting again. I think the director is making all these interesting choices in every department. Like, we talked about how he used Vijay Sethupathiy's voice for the voiceover. So, same way, I think. Let me just see who did the music. Music composer Bharat Shankar. So I have not heard a lot of his stuff, but I think he did what was required for the world building as well, including the background score. And uh, it's not just the world, but he also helps create that superhero persona and the personality for the
The
screen.
villain theme was I really liked it.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I think one of the songs had Anirudh on the vocals as well. So that the hero entry song, I think Anirudh sang that. So
That
they
was out.
tried
Like I didn't want. I didn't like it.
they tried going commercial with that, but didn't
Yeah.
really work.
That
But
just felt out of place. It just didn't like that song. I remember like you just showed your hero is very submissive, doesn't shy and this and then you're showing him is dancing in front, in the lead, like leading the dance and all of that. Like
yeah,
doesn't really add. Maybe it's a dream sequence, but no, that's not what you showed. So it just feels out of place totally.
yeah, I think it's. I mean, see, like how Maaveeran is a film about listening to that voice inside you to do the right thing. I think the director followed the voice inside him for the most part of it. Other than that hero entry song and the climax, how they kind of messed it up, which could have been better. But overall, a good experience. And yeah, so I think that's it for now. We'll be back. I don't know when. Depends really on what we cover next. Maybe Jawan, if it has enough substance for it. So see you soon, guys. I hope you have subscribed and blah blah blah, all the drill. And check out Nona's channel as well. I've tagged him if you're watching from my end. So we'll see you soon. Thank you.